Alright, so this is my pedal board. Thought I'd do a brief discussion rather than typing out everything and then follow up with a video of me demoing some of the pedals. So we'll start with the first thing in the chain is my Volume Pedal Junior. Had this thing forever. It's a great pedal. Directly out from that I run into the Electro Harmonix Switchblade Plus, primarily only using channel A, which goes directly through my pedal board and then into the input of my amplifier. I can also run stereo rig. I have 2 amps. One's a practice amp though, so it doesn't really measure up in the mix. So I do use the output B. What I do is I run it into the second channel of my 410 DeVille. The 2 signals run into the amp together. You can use this button here, which is a blend switch, or switch between the 2. So if I want a straight amp signal, I have that, or through the pedal board, or both. Sounds great with cleans, not so much with any kind of drive. It gets muddy and has a weird kind of like wah, hill down sound to it. I'm not sure why, but I don't really use it for the dirt anyway. Next in the line is my Big Muff fuzz clone. This is a Biyang FZ-7, I believe. True bypass fuzz, volume, tone, and drive. It also has a 3-way switch. Top position is traditional muff sounds. Middle position is brighter. You can get some real kind of screechy tones out of that. And then the bottom position is warm. I like the bottom position the best. It gives you that nice kind of fuzz face sound. Don't use the fuzz a lot, but when I do, I make sure that it's very loud and very raunchy. This is Dyna Comp from MXR. Little paint job, put some tape on it. Now it looks like a different pedal, but yeah, just a simple compressor. Really only use this for cleans. Just kind of evens out my signal, makes it sound really smooth, and then in unison with the POG, doing swells with some delay, it'll give me some longer tails and make them last and sound a little more clear. They don't get muddied up as it decays. So from there, the TU2 chromatic tuner. Had this first pedal I ever bought, so I've had this one for a while. Just can't go wrong with it. Now to the POG. I use the POG primarily for swell type stuff with my bands. It's really nice to add extra depth, some other textures to the sounds. I primarily use one of the presets with my band, so all the other presets are cool, fun things like cello sounds, bass sounds, synth pads, mellotron, weird flutes and things like that. So I love the POG. It's great for very many applications. We'll see that when I get to that one. So this is what used to be Carl Martin DC drive. Got the pedal cheap on eBay, got it home, was kind of trying to find the proper setting for me, and in doing so put some tape on there to leave the markings so that I wouldn't have to remember exactly where the knobs went. Went to take the tape off and all the paint came off. So I stripped it and then I glued this real ugly, crazy man's face on there. So won't be able to resell this one, but don't want to anyway. So it's a great pedal, really nice drive. It's a little more chimey than like a Tube Screamer sound, but I really like it. It has both drive and boost. It's a clean boost. I like it more than I liked my MXR micro amp. So it kind of replaced 2 pedals. I got rid of my TS9DX and the boost and got this pedal. It's a great pedal. This is a Fulltone GT500. Right side's set for pretty gnarly distortion. Left side, since I've got the boost on the Carl Martin, I didn't use the boost there. It is primarily to engage like a OCD type sound. It's got that real kind of thick, muddy sound to it. So with these 2 drives, I've got the overdrive portion covered, and then obviously the distortion there and the fuzz back there. So any kind of dirt that I need, I can do. It gets really weird when you start running things back and forth into each other. The boost from this pedal over the top of these is really nice. You know, I can do both the TS9 kind of sound plus the OCD sound. It gets really, really hairy. Great stuff. I've finally become happy with my gain pedals, so really happy about the setup I've got right now. Next is the Joyo 6-band equalizer. They do MXR copies. Got it for 40 bucks. Nice cheap pedal. It replaced the Dan Electro Fish and Chips EQ that I've had forever. I'm not a guy that wants to spend a lot of money on an EQ pedal, but I do like the EQ for jazzier type stuff. I can roll off the highs, and then if I'm playing like chicken picking, I can get that real twangy stuff. It's just a nice pedal to have, a nice resource to be available. Next is the Jade Sting. It is a Dan Armstrong Green Ringer clone. Can't remember the guy that builds them, but it's the guy that hand wires them out in California. You can find, if you just search Jade Sting on YouTube or online, you'll find it. Really great Octavia sounds, real simple, just an on-off switch. I don't use it paired with the fuzz. I thought that's where I was going to find a home for it. It's really nice clean. It also does really well with the drive portion of the GT500 to get that Hendrix type sound. So from that we go back across the board and run into the Electro Harmonix Wiggler. Really, for my money, I've had several different kinds of vibe / tremolo pedals. This is the best. It does both things, and with the tube circuit you get really warm, even sound. If you crank up the output, you get a nice distorted like Leslie speaker sound. So very versatile. I use mostly the Leslie sound. The Wurlitzer type sound is really good too for doing organ stuff with the POG. Sounds very electric piano-ish. So really great pedal. Used sparingly, but when I use it, it's key to the sound. So from that I run into my vintage Ibanez CS9. I got this pedal because of John Schofield. I wanted to be able to do the gnarly things that he does, where he cranks it all the way up and you just get a real open sound. It's fun. I don't use it a lot otherwise, so this mostly gets played at home when I'm messing around with jazz stuff, but it is a great pedal. It's probably 20-something years old, and I've had no issues with it whatsoever. From that we run into my DD6. This pedal and this pedal were bought together. My first two pedals I ever bought some 14 years ago. Not 14 years ago, but long time, 10 years. I love it. I got everything from reverb to, you know, dotted eighth notes to big sweeping swells. I used the looper for the longest time. This pedal's just never failed me. I use it mainly for swells nowadays because it is a nice even digital signal. Doesn't get too muddy on the tail for those really long swells. So great pedal. Won't ever part with that one. From that I go into the Electro Harmonix Cathedral pedal. I've got it turned this way for a couple reasons. One, because that's how it fits. How it fits on the board. Secondarily, when I turn it on, I can use my toe to switch through the presets fairly easily. I don't have to bend down and then engage the pedal. I like mainly the plate and the spring reverbs. The rest of the presets on there, I've got some just weird stuff that I don't use that often, but still really cool settings. We'll go through those when I do the demo. Great pedal, great reverb pedal. I had the Holy Stain before this, which had, I think, Hall and Room on it. Liked those two settings so much that I got rid of the Stain and upgraded to this Cathedral. So really good pedal. From that we run into bypass the expression pedal into the Line 6 M5. I got this unit based off of several different demos I saw online, and then I had one of the guys in my band bought one and just swore by it. So I got it mainly for the delays and being able to have a bunch of cool different delay emulations in there without having the big green DL4. They run about the same price, so I also get all the cool other mods that Line 6 does. Really reliable pedal so far. I've heard some bad things about it, but I haven't had any issues. This is the Mission expression pedal plugged into the M5. It really opens up this pedal to a lot of different possibilities. I've got 24 presets in here. I use every single one of them. Several wahs, the ZVEX Sequoia clone, some cool modulation effects that you can't really get from other places without spending a ton of money. So this is the money saver pedal on my board. I'm able to do things that I would love to buy a Sequoia, but I don't really have the money to shell out for it, so this is where I go for that kind of stuff. This also acts as my wah. I would normally have the wah in the beginning of the chain, but because of the fact that I use this mainly for delays and things like that, I need it to be towards the end. So the wah doesn't sound amazing, especially with dirt engaged, but it does its job nonetheless, and I don't ever use wah really. It might make an appearance once or twice a month, so not something I'm really concerned about having it at this point in the chain. Finally, we run into the Digitech Jamman delay. I debated for a long time about what looper I was going to get. I'd been using the 5-second loop on the DD6 for many years and wanting more, but never wanted to shell out the cash to get a real looper, or a really good looper. Didn't like the Boss one. Tried that one out. The RC20 just wasn't for me. Checked out a couple other pedals. Really was interested in the Boomerang pedal, but it's another one of those things where the money involved in getting one of those was a little more than I was willing to shell out. I got an amazing deal on this on eBay, brand new. I think it was $185, which is just ridiculous. I love the fact that I can save all my presets and go back and forth between it. I use a couple loops live that are right there ready to go at a moment's notice. And I didn't think I was going to, but I also use all the delays. The third one is set for a dotted eighth, so I can do some really cool arpeggio type stuff. This is a reverse, and then this is just a straight analog with a little bit of modulation on it to get that Electro Harmonix Memory Man kind of sound. So that's essentially the last pedal on my chain, but this here is a pedal I bought on eBay from a guy called Mr. Grimm's Gadgets. I highly recommend checking out his stuff. You can search him on YouTube as well. This is a true bypass feedback looper, so that my entire board is fed into the send and return. This is the last pedal on the chain, obviously, because everything goes into it. And then you engage your board by stepping on that switch. You can probably hear the sound. When it's off, it's off. The whole thing is in bypass. That alone makes this pedal worth the money. But here on the left side, you have a feedback loop, so that all of the pedals run through this. I can get some really cool and weird sounds with the feedback looper. I haven't quite mastered it yet. Still finding applications for it as I go. On top of that, this is an optical eye that allows expression with the feedback loop, so that if you have something on that is going to start to self-oscillate as you get more light into it, you can put your foot over it, put your hand over it, and keep it from blowing up your amp speaker. So this is also after the volume. Like I said, the volume's in the front, so that if I have some feedback going on it that starts to get too crazy, I can kill it or keep it going, but keep the volume down via that. So at this point, everything runs into my 410 DeVille that I don't have here at home. I have it at the practice space. So I run this cheap little Fender 25R. Does the job wonderfully. Really like the amp. $100, you know, for a practice amp is a great deal. So all of this will be played through my parts caster. This was an old Squire that I bought from a buddy and then decked out with a bunch of different stuff. The pickups are rail pickups that are wired to these switches. Top position is single coil, middle position is off, bottom position is full humbucking, so that I have 27 different combinations of tones. This is the workhorse of my my guitar collection. I use this more than any other guitar because it just can do basically anything. So that's the explanation. I know it went a little long, but hopefully it will justify the demo to follow. Thanks.